Dr. Stone is a fairly recent new interesting anime series that has a unique setting of a future that has reverted to the Stone Ages. No longer is there technology, modern medicine, or anything that resembles the 21st century, ever since a mysterious green light flashed over the entire Earth and turned every human into stone. So it is up to a boy named Senku and his vast knowledge of all things science to revive modern civilization and save all of mankind. Although Senku was amongst all the humans who were petrified by the green light, he was able to awaken after 3700 years trapped in stone. Everything Senku says can actually be done, and it becomes the general focus of the series. Science is definitely the overall theme of the show, but in my opinion, it's not the main focus of the story that makes it so great and interesting. More so the characters, their backgrounds, and the premise is what I think really brings out the best in this show. Do keep in mind that throughout this video there will be spoilers. I wouldn't say they are that heavy, so just watching out for you guys. Briefly talk about the scientific aspects of the show. Although the phenomenon of everyone turning to stone is that of science fiction, everything else that occurs within the show actually can apply to real life. The somewhat educational scientific segments were entertaining and a good complement to the tone of the series, though I thought they were going a little fast during some of the explanation portions. It is understandable since if those parts were any longer, it would have gotten boring very quick. But those segments do remind me that the modern day civilization that we've come to know now originated from scientific breakthroughs that came from using everything the Earth has to offer since mankind's primitive stages. The way the show portrays science is very much comedic during those short segments that take the form of lessons of sorts. The steps to making something is shown in a lot of detail and is a bit overwhelming. Honestly, most of the time I don't even know what Senku is talking about when he starts explaining about the finer details in his creations. However, what I find more important and impactful is the sheer tenacity and dedication he exhibits from the feats he has accomplished. One display of his immense tenacity was him counting for 3700 years while trapped in stone. Though he is in fact a genius, everything he has done so far has never gone 10 billion% perfect. In fact, almost all the times, he has gone through a rigorous process of trial and error to achieve his goals. Something that Kohaku greatly admired about Senku as well. I think this best captures Senku's personality in a nutshell. The events that occur in the story so far don't seem very significant at the moment. Like I get it takes a while, like 10 billion years or something to redevelop civilization and all that, but they're just having too much fun while doing it, which takes some of the seriousness away from the show. Even so, I can't help but feel there is a bigger picture to what they are working towards. We found out in the most recent episodes, from episodes 15 to 17, that the village where Senku is establishing his kingdom of science at is actually called Ishigami Village, which we also found out is Senku's last name. We then find out from Nuri that Byakuya Ishigami, who was Senku's father, was the first descendant of these villagers. It turns out he was one of the 6 astronauts that were in space that did not get turned into stone 3700 years ago when the green light incident occurred. He eventually returned to Earth and settled with the other 5 people with him. It's implied he married one of the astronauts, the American singer Lillian Weinberg, and had children since Kohaku and Rudy look very much like her. He built the foundation for the village by creating the 100 Tales, which are 100 stories that teach his children and descendants the essentials to survival, such as hunting, finding food, shelter, knowledge about wild animals, and pretty much anything that would help them survive. Most importantly, the stories mentioned Senku to prepare him for the day when he will be revived and need some friends to help him on his way to saving all of mankind, because Byakuya believed he was the only one capable of doing so. Although Senku's full name is Senku Ishigami, he reveals he is not blood related to Byakuya, making him not blood related to any of the villagers. I thought that was just an amazing background for both the people of Ishigami Village as well as Byakuya Ishigami. I feel as though there are still many things that haven't been explained yet, but will be revealed much later, and that there are still many things of higher importance at play. Like, we still don't know what the green light is or why it happened. Probably already revealed in the manga, but I'm not really following with that, honestly. I think it's always safe to assume that if an anime series is not an original story and or is based off of manga, then almost all the time the huge major climax has already happened by that time. In any case, the premise of the story is what really sells the show and puts a what-if situation into speculation if a person with enormous knowledge of modern civilization were to be placed into a world that has regressed back into a more primitive way of life. Animation quality is high, but it is nothing out of the ordinary. The series was animated by TMS Entertainment, which is an older Japanese animation studio known for older works like Detective Conan, Lupin III, and Akira. Some of their newer works are Yowamushi Pedal or the new Fruits Basket 2019 adaptation. They aren't really known for a new modern series, but rather for their older ongoing long-form series they've been doing for more than multiple decades. Even so far they've been doing a remarkable job with Dr. Stone. It has been quite a while since they have put out a professionally successful new series that appeals to the younger audience. The visuals are full of color and brings the world to life. The backgrounds and landscapes that are depicted are stunningly detailed that makes the surrounding very organic. That fits very well with the naturalistic theme of the show. Lots of great and unique characters in this series. Although almost everyone's backgrounds were only just briefly summarized in a few segments per character, it makes the series easier to follow without undermining them. Their motives are clear and not overly complicated, making it fairly reasonable to understand why they are doing what they do. For example, Kohaku is just doing whatever she can to cure her sister's illness. Senku just wants to revive all of mankind and modern civilization. Tsukasa wants things to stay the same in the Stone Ages so adults won't oppress the youth. Gen just wants some cola for now, or to just stay in a comfortable position favorable to him. He's a particularly suspicious character. I won't be surprised if he betrays everyone later on, but his intentions are still somewhat shrouded in mystery. Duty is just the innocent, beautiful priestess girl who just wants the best for her people and likes pretty much everyone. The main characters are overall likable. The characters I didn't like initially, I soon came to like after more about them is shown. Tsukasa, for example, what he's doing is really wrong to just straight up deny mankind's resurrection and straight up killing people for assuming they're bad people. But he is generally a considerate and reasonable person and only does things that he thinks are absolutely necessary for what he thinks is best for mankind. Only problem is that he's taking it to the extreme. Taiju and Yuzuriha are Senku's friends, so of course they'll be characters you'll strongly root for. They both played a large part during the first half of the series, but after Senku separated from them to find help, I found that their significance slowly started to diminish. Hopefully we'll get to see more of them around later on. It was kind of a letdown for me since I would have liked to know more about them and see them develop further as characters, but I suspect they're saving that for the next major event. The villagers I really didn't like at first, like Chrome, Ginro, Kinro, or the Chief, only because they were strongly resistant to Senku's help, using science to cure Duty of her illness. But as soon as they start supporting Senku, I find myself looking at them very favorably. Kohaku and Suika are just very likable characters. The show really makes it hard for you to not like them. Suika is a shy yet friendly and caring young girl who, despite her condition, remains optimistic to her situation. By the way, in Japanese, Suika means watermelon, which is where her name comes from since she wears a watermelon over her head. Kohaku is a girl who is kind, loyal, trustworthy, and just a really non-superficial character as shown by her good judge of character. She is one of my favorite characters in the show besides Senku. As far as Senku himself, well, he is probably the most eccentric out of all the characters. A genius obsessed with science coupled with a weird yet overconfident personality somehow makes him the most likable character in the entire series. Despite his eccentric and pompous personality, he is strangely charismatic in that he attracts people to him, whomever they are, from his tenacity and determination in everything he does. This is what Kohaku described him as and why she had fallen for him by exclaiming her sudden interest in him during their first encounter, and was the reason Kohaku came to side with Senku in such a short amount of time. If you look at the popularity polls for Dr. Stone, he's number one in pretty much all of them all the time. He's overconfident, conceited, vaguely selfless, and at the same time selfish, calculating, extremely logical, and acts kind of like a villain. He does not rule out manipulating people if it will bring him closer to his goals, if it meant it will help his friends. It is not from his actions themselves, but rather the results of his actions that come from his true intentions that demonstrate that he is actually very driven, compassionate, trustworthy, kind, and selfless. Almost all the characters in this show are rather interestingly eccentric that makes the series hard to become stale. Overall, I would say Dr. Stone is a very refreshing new series in the shonen adventure genre. The setting is what really sets the show apart from others. Though the world itself is empty of civilization and people, it makes up for it by focusing on the smaller parts of nature that we tend to forget about. The series has excellent character chemistry and diversity that complements the story's plot and development. Senku being the centerpiece of the show just pushes the show to further heights from the thought that was put into his development. If you're looking for some romance in this series, they did introduce it here and there, such as Taiju's almost confessions to Yuzuriha, Chrome's attraction to Duty, or Kohaku's first encounter of Senku. But I don't think that is supposed to be the focus of the series due to the show's main genre. There isn't room for much romance to happen at the moment because there are simply more important things for the characters to do in their stone world. How the characters will go about resolving their dilemmas will make the series a consistently good watch in the long run. So that will be my take on Dr. Stone. Hope this video helped to give you a little insight on the series, whether you're currently watching the series, finished watching the series, or just considering picking it up. Anyways, that's it for me in this video. I hope you were able to get something out of it. If you want, you can share your thoughts on Dr. Stone in the comments. I'm always eager to see them. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.